The gray sky is no less than the gray city that has already begun to devour the forest. Concrete is inexorably crumbling. In the midst of the ruins, he sighs with boredom. The guy began to be surrounded by bloodthirsty monsters. He was not afraid, they annoyed him. Finished and moved on. Something caught the boy's attention. This guy had an unusually cold purple look. He was very tired and annoyed by these sweet little monsters. He noticed how several wolfkins surrounded the victim, carrying consciousness. This is a sight, he said, while the creatures did not pay attention. The guy immediately realized that the creatures had already killed the victim and were preparing to arrange a feast, but after these words, the monsters noticed the guy and one of them was very strong. The guy coldly looked at the grinning fanged freaks and wondered, can he really do nothing with this shit? At the same moment, the wolves howled with their loud roar. Those three whose meal he interrupted rushed at the guy at the speed of light. They were already very close and the guy just stood and watched. The guy drew his sword and took a fighting stance. The space around him began to sparkle with outgoing power. His purple eyes lit up. The guy seemed to cut space and time itself, and in the blink of an eye chopped off all three silent heads with one deft blow. His speed was much higher than the speed of these beasts. Skills were honed to the absolute. The sun shone faintly on the roof of a metal structure with a domed roof. Peaks were all around. They knocked on the metal hay. Open it. The heavy door began to open. Leaning on the open photographs, a young boy stood and smiled kindly. Inside the building there was a small settlement of people. The smiling guy turned to Kang Tae-san. Hyung, you're back. Kang was an easy player. You already know that no one except you can't do this, Hyung. What about that punk that run away? The boy babbled, I'm going to dive announce, so could you send someone else to do something like this? The indifferent Kang replied. Kang wearily reported that the fugitive had been eaten by the monsters. The smiling boy was very surprised he was a player in hardcore mode. Kang replied that the 3A rank monsters happily shared the body in the advent. Up to this point, the smiling boy had already become more serious A rank monsters, he thought. He understood that hardcore mode players are strong, but A rank monsters can easily deal with such. The guy understood that they needed to quickly deal with this threat and asked if they were nearby. Kang briefly replied that he killed them all and the kid was confused. Yes, Kang said that he was hungry and asked if the guy would like to go with him to the dining room. The boy is worried, asked him to answer honestly to the question. He asked if Kang plays in easy mode, since he only plays in it. The guy's name was Jim. What the fuck are you talking? There are tons of people who walked the labyrinth with me. You can ask them. Kang waved it off. All easy mode players except you are dead, understand, and those that appear rarely die within 2 days, Jim continued nervously, and Kang asked wearily, so what? Honest. How can a simple mode player survive here? Even the normal mode players are in a questionable situation, so you are strange, Hyung, Jim said. Now the city was acting like hell and there was almost nothing left of the former world. Seriously, how are you so strong, Hyung? I also play hard mode, but I can't even compare to you, Jim asked without calming down. Kang looked at him with his purple eyes silently and even a bit of a hidden threat. This is because you cleared it too rapidly, Kang said briefly. Again, you for yourself. Jim was indignant and did not see the frightening non-human shadow of his comrade at all. Meanwhile, the guys had already arrived at the dining room. What, potatoes again? Can't you distribute something else? Kang was indignant and angry, looking at just boiled whole potatoes. What can we do about that? Potatoes are the most profitable. Even with simple growth there is a limit to how much we can distribute, Jim said humbly while eating potatoes. Jim also asked if Kang had learned cultivation skills. Kang replied that this skill was beyond his control. And why? After all, wherever they go, there is some kind of food. Suddenly there was a noise in the street. Stop joking, this can't be true, someone comforted someone. Kang suggested that another person appeared here that he could clear, and Jim agreed. Kang deviated from the strong flow of the blow and said that the kid was doing magic to become famous. Jim, because of such a performance, doubted the strength of Kang and said, Hyung, you need to grow up to him. Kang was irritated by the cries for help from people who were suffering from the tricks of an arrogant asshole. Do not lie to me. How is this Earth? Everything had to end after the last return. Someone yelled furiously in front of the bursting wall of the structure. Is this a hip and camera trick? Someone shouted, threatening that they would not miss him. Kang asked a passerby what happened to Li Taeon and told him that he was now on reconnaissance. Young friend, this is really the earth. While you are stamped in the labyrinth, the world is very strong changed. Set up, and listen to what I'll say. The gray-haired man said to the arrogant guy. The guy without hesitation hit the man in the face with all his might. Kang threatened Jim that if his potatoes disappear when he returns, he will pay. He decided to intervene. Jim's friend was very happy. And then it dawned on him that the potatoes were not his. Sorry, this is really the earth. Humanity is currently on the verge of dancing. Kang spoke confidently as he approached. Do not joke with me. The boy barked and Jim jokingly asked, Is this your crown phrase? There can't be 15 players on Earth. Do you know how many players are there? How can they not stop a few simple monsters? Stop lying. Most players return to Cardaran from the labyrinth. Go crazy because they cannot accept the reality of what is happening. So this guy fell to his knees and began to cry because his brain could not accept the fact that he lives in this terrible reality. This happens quite frequently and it is not easy to accept. But Kang is all terribly annoying. Yes, it looks like I'm going to have the shit out of you to get you to accept reality. Name? Kang Tae-sana spoke irritably. The boy gave his name as Lee Chong-chum and was surprised that the boy gave the request for a battle. He still didn't know who he was dealing with. Lee saw Kang's name and remembered him, that bastard spamming the community forum despite being a simple easy mode player. Smiling maliciously, the guy said already self-confidently. How funny! A player in easy mode dared to oppose a player in hard mode? Don't you know that the difference in strength between players of different difficulty is like heaven and hell? Smiled Lee defiantly, walking to Kang. Shut up and fight. If you win, I will show you the real world, that Kang said sternly. Lee was very angry because he thought that Kang was just putting on airs. Lee shouted that Kang would not regret later because he would not care if he died after his blow. An arrogant guy though. With that, Lee began to use his hardcore fighting skills to increase his accuracy and punching power to teach a lesson. So he thought. The crowd began to whisper in admiration for the arrogant Lee's strength as they watched his sword ignite due to his skills. Lee was fast. His eyes glowed yellow and his sword was already at Kang's neck. Was he really going to kill the guy just because he wanted to cool him off? The impact was followed by a powerful burst of energy. Like a bomb went off. Kang used a full null and activated the first strike. Lee didn't deal even a single point of damage to Kang and was very surprised by this. His sword cut through the air and froze in one place. The smoke parted and it was clear that Kang stopped Lee's sword with one hand. You finished? He looked into his eyes. My attack did not work? I have never heard of anything like this, thought the boy as he tried to pick up the sword. But Kang held him back with ease. So what? Now it's my turn? Kang asked, pulling Lee's sword aside without any difficulty, filling his hand with the power that glowed with blue ice. Lee found himself under a direct hit filled with skill. Kang just punched and Lee had already decided to defend himself with his skills. Lee took 49 direct damage and was surprised that Kang didn't hit harder. He could have done it. Total 49 damages? Really? He can't overcome the oppressive difference between easy and hard modes. Relieved, Lee thought as he drew his sword back. Your health is over 10,000, right? Kang asked menacingly, clenching his fist. Kang activated his skills to increase his attack power as well as to ignore his opponent's defensive skills. He activated all of this for a single punch that glows more and more with blue fire. Lee was frightened by all this weight. Come on, take this hit, Kang said coldly, looking at his opponent. Kang immediately hit Lee lightly on the top of the head. The boy was confused and did not have time to do anything. At the same moment, Lee fell to the ground and the surface cracked under his head. Kang stood over him, still not lowering his fist. Everything was lit up in flashes of blue and purple. The space was saturated with the power of Kang. The power of the blow was not final and only began to gain momentum. The force of the blow was so incredible that the space crackled. Lee received damage equal to 9,604. His head was rapidly pressed into the ground and he was absorbed by this force. Now do you understand? Kang asked. It really is the earth, Kong spoke in his usual cold and indifferent tone. He did not finish off the arrogantly, and he, in an attempt to get on all fours, asked Kong to stop mocking him. Why the world is such, if everyone it was like it now, it would be better if I did not clear the labyrinth. Lee wept in despair. When the world was still the same, the sky suddenly split into pieces from a scarlet flash and the monsters began to arrive one after another in whole swarms. The world was thrown into chaos and devastation for a park of moments. And people were given a choice without a choice. In a moment of fear and despair, the consciousness of humanity had to choose. For modes easy, normal, hard and single. After choosing a difficulty, all players were required to enter the labyrinth to clear it. Crazy gloomy place that drives you crazy. The players could return to the ground only after they had passed the labyrinth. And before the past there was always one picture: devastation and danger. And they all returned back to Earth in this ruined land overflowing with monsters. What else can we do? We should try to save this world, Kong finished rubbing his hands. Good job, Kong listened to Jim's cheerful voice. Kong noticed Jim, you came? And he replied that he could not miss his fight. Yes, of course. Seriously. You are incredible, this is so one hit to fall the player in hard mode. Jim praised him as sobbing Lee was taken to the doctor's tent. What's so specialis to beat such a weak? Kong asked indifferently. He's not weak, you're just too strong, Hyung replied Jim, throwing potatoes at him. My potatoes are already all cool. This is why I did not want to get into the game. Took a bite of Kong, but really. Where do you get this multiplying skill? Jim stomped after him. Ignore defense? I can't believe such skills exist. What is the fucking skill that resets the first attack? Jim babbled and sweated. Are there skills only you have, Hyung? Just how did you get them? The guy did not calm down, and Kong replied that all this was due to hard work. Again, someone was hysterical loudly, so these two that another new player arrived. There are too many of them today and everyone is panicking as one. But this time the new player was calm and there were crowds of screams. Men simply saw a beautiful woman and, as always, could not contain their delight. It was Lee Taeyong. She had returned and was more than whole. Look for cuties like that. She was able to single-handedly clear the labyrinth and return to Earth. From what she saw around, her psyche did not even stagger, which could not but attract attention. Worry about jewelry even when humanity dies, walked around the Kong Museum looking at the skeleton of a huge monsters hanging from the ceiling. The museum was full of all sorts of decorations and paintings. Even vases and jars with inlays. How annoying, said Kong. He touched the grow. There's only one person who could bring her here. Kong said this while passing by the painting The Last Supper and sincerely wondered why someone would collect all this while the monsters were rampaging outside. This man is the one who chose to play alone. Just why a woman like you is the strongest person in the world, he spoke looking at her. He spoke to Lee Taeyong, who was sitting in a chair and looking at him. The focus on something is essential in a situation like yours. Why don't you try to have a hobby like I did? Why did you call me here? The guy asked wearily. I heard you teach the lesson 2 that hard mode fuck? Move to Lee's case. Easy mode player teaching hard mode player. Every time I have heard this, it's strange. Lee smiled. She was staring at Kang's data screen, and he was staring at her skyrocketing performance across all parameters. She was scared of something. What are you bragging about? Kong asked in bewilderment while looking at the screen. I'm just checking something. Show me in your status window. Lee said. So you bragging? What do you have against players in easy mode? Kong snarled viciously. Currently is in peak condition. Really weak as expected. Read Lee's status and data. Did you decide to fight? Kong caught fire. I'm just checking, I already told you. All these performances are pretty good for a easy player. Lee Taeyong comforted him. The labyrinth is divided into 4 difficulties. When the player passes the labyrinth, all growth is stopped, resulting in a large difference in strength between the different difficulties. Player statistics is 10x higher in hard mode. But none of them could suspend even one hit of the sight. The reason is, the skill station has been possible. Li Tan ordered Kang not to move for a second and prepared to strike. Li Tan began to activate attack enhancement skills similar to those used by the guy Kang had recently taught. But Tyon had a couple more individual skills, a perfect target and a guaranteed hit. All of these skills can be obtained regardless of the chosen difficulty. She swung and the shockwave almost reached the guy. He just looked. All the power flew past him and a fiery explosion rang out behind him. Kang squinted at the blast, but he wasn't hurt. But the quality of the acquired knowledge and skills. "Why are you doing this?" Kang asked, behind whom was the already destroyed wall. Kang's first attack reset worked and he took 0 damage. Li Tan replied that she just wanted to check on Kang. Full attack emulation, absolute judgment, exponential attack, simple time stop. What a laughter ability. You have 200 skills, right? Li Tan spoke about 230, yes. Kang replied angrily. This was the skill you got during the strategic game through the tower, right? The girl said thoughtfully. Who knows, that's all in the past. Kang waved him off. This is not needed to be this dot anyway. You are incredible, we could win if you played in single mode. Lao Ridley spoke as she returned to her chair. Kang stared at her intensely with his purple eyes. Tayson's skills are strong, but most of them use statistics as a basis, and this is a mistake. Kang remembered the tunnel's graveyard. How people cried and read if only you were a hardcore player or at least normal difficulty. If it was like that, Taysan wouldn't be able to use even half of his current skill power. Kang asked Tyon, "You're back from patrol, right?" Li Tan changed her yes face. She said that the next wave would begin soon and Kang sank into himself. He remembered the dark past of the previous invasion. How huge monsters broke everything and everyone in their path. He chuckled and said, "We're covered during the wave, the monsters attack massively. Every time one of them arised, lots of people die, and our territory shrink. Humanity lost soul during the first wave. During the second wave, half of the hard mode players die, and we can only protect a small town during the third wave. And now the fourth wave is going to arrive." "How many?" Kang asked. 2 with ranks, several tensa rank, several hundred B ranks, and the apostle. Li Taiyang reported. Kang grimly began to understand the whole problem of the situation, because even Tyon would be hard with his C rank. They also lack players in hardcore mode and just those who could handle the A rank. Not to talk about the apostle that is stronger than S rank. Is defeat inevitable? But we should at least try. Tayson, fight the 2S ranks. Tyon said. Are you telling me to die? Kang asked. I need To fight the apostle and you are the only here To challenge the C ranks. You know it. Tyon replied. You're so a bore. Kang was leaving. Will you go tell the others? Tyon asked cheerfully. They should at least have the opportunity to prepare emotionally. Do you want them to die knowing nothing? The guy answered. Taeyeon suggested that this might be a more positive option. Kang disagreed with this assumption. He walked out loudly, closing the door, leaving her alone. She turned to him and said that he was strong. And if that's really the case, then he could lead them all to victory. After this appeal to the void, she thought. But you saw my power. She held a shimmering piece in her hand. Jim sat outside and was bored after hearing the news from Kang. I knew this day would come, but I still felt like absolute crap. He spoke calmly while the people below wept and screamed in fear. How are you? Kang casually asked. I accepted it. All over the circumstances, we managed to keep up for a pretty long despite an incredible situation that lived so long. I would call this a blessing. They said with their heads thrown back to Jim. Bless my ass. You will die. Kang joked after noticing someone. He saw a guy who had to be subdued in the morning. What a poor thing. He's all the same, his actions mutely skewed. He must have been through so much suffering to pass the labyrinth, but he is told he should expect death the same day he can see the real world again. What a unhappy existence he has. Jim calmly reasoned. Jim asked how Kang was feeling, but at that moment the sky parted. To honest, I thought you were the most evil here. Humanity probably would not die if we did at least half of what you do. Jim continued. They were on the wall of the structure and saw how the blood lightning began to rage beyond the border of their settlement. This meant that the horror began. Normal. I'm so angry it's killing me. Happy now? Kong replied as lightning cut through space. An ugly monster began to crawl out from a gap in space. One, and where there is one, there are a dozen different classes and breeds. All these the monsters screamed terrifyingly and thirsted for the blood and flesh of humans. Dude, this is fuck. What did you said you would have to fight, Hyung? Jim smiled calmly, 2S ranks. Kong replied calmly and without emotion. Can you wait for me? See you in the other world. You most will go there first, Jim said as he watched his comrade prepare for battle. Of course, replied Kong, sliding down the wall and activating his jump skill. In the place where he stood, purple lightning formed, which, like a real one, cut the space. He moved with super speed to the epicenter. Kong threw himself high into the sky and in flight already activated the observation skill in order to properly assess everything. He confidently looked at the screen, looking for targets. He watched as a crowd of monsters was moving towards the settlement. Here they are, 2C rank. His targets were marked as 2 dark red circles. You have seen terrible creatures with your own eyes, the name of the next skill. Kong Purple landed in a flash beside the 2 thugs. And stood firmly on his feet. Do you want to see me? He asked the question not reasonable and his eyes glowed predatory. The 2 monsters were watching Kong and were not particularly in a hurry to finish him off, as their nervous system was sure of victory. Kong checked himself. It passed all the checks successfully. His mental state was normal. Transform Kang's body into an unyielding one. This meant that he used all his skills and abilities to the maximum here and now. A simple mode player against 2C class monsters. He stood against them. Die bastards, he said through his teeth without changing his calm expression faces, and only his eyes spoke of a readiness to kill. He looked at the bottom without fear and slowly approached. One of the monsters looked like a mushroom and the other looked like an octopus, although they were many times larger in size and looked intimidating. Kong prepared to strike and hoped that among the 2 there was no protector monster. At this moment, the C-rank mushroom monster showed activity. This mushroom was just a protective type. His health was in the millions and he had already jumped towards the guy, preparing to deal with the bug. The mushroom landed right where Kong was in a second. With his body, he literally broke through Earth. Had he crushed Kong? It wasn't like that. Kong managed to dodge as he used his body acceleration skill. The guy was indignant about the 148 million health of this deadly fungus it will take forever to kill. Kong glanced at the second monster. It was a long-range attack type with only 1 million health compared to that mushroom. The difference is noticeable. This octopus was also now preparing to attack 1.2 million. I think it's realistic to do so, said Kong. Kong saw the octopus's apologies and realized that he most likely had nothing to answer these 2 with, but he decided to at least try. Kong took off. The guy started hitting the octopus monster from all sides and moving as fast as he could. He did not want to fall under retaliatory attacks, so he decided to invest fully. He dealt 42 damage, then the damage began to decrease and Kong continued to strike without stopping and wondered why the damage was decreasing. Kong decided that it would be better to aim for the head rather than the tentacles and immediately regrouped. The monster's tentacles sparkled. This bastard gathered all his tentacles for a suggestive blow to the guy. A green pillar of light shot towards Kong. Kong immediately used the ability to nullify the first attack of the enemy and the court but received 0 damage. Kong knew now that his attack power would decrease each time he hit those deadly tentacles that took so little time to recharge. Kong spotted another launch. He expected to predict the trajectory of the blows of this monster. The slower he came to the conclusion, the more minuses. Kong had already been talking about surrounding beams of green light. The guy used the boost again. Kong Purple Lightning flew through the tentacles to the head of a giant octopus and realized that he could no longer play for time. He needs to be killed as quickly as possible in order to switch to the second one. He hit right between the eyes and still 48 damage. Kong was angry but determined and will go to the end. Osmanog again landed a direct hit on Kong with a green flash, but the guy's nullify and second attack ability was activated and he again took 0 damage. The octopus finally had green blood and he yelled. The creature looked up. There, at the top, Kang was already flying, bringing his sword behind his head to increase the power of penetration. At that moment, the giant mushroom activated again. Kang realized that he had finally activated the protective properties. Defensive type monster protects attacking even at long distances when he is in danger. Perhaps that is why they were paired and were at the start. But Kang chuckled. Gotcha. Kang reached out and landed and forcibly initiated a battle with the protector mushroom. By doing so, he cut off the contact and synergy of these two monsters by erecting a dome around the mushroom. The octopus attacked. But his attacks crashed against the dome set by the guy. And for 1 minute, only this mushroom monster could damage Kang. I wonder who was locked up with whom. This would be easy if Taeyeon was here. Because her is legendary gear and stats delivered from single player. Kang thought and activated the supplement. His current attack doubles. Kang began to increase her attack to the maximum possible and also activated a skill that ignored the opponent's defense. A defensive type cannot damage white Tion, so it will first deal with the long attacker and then slowly kill the defender. Kang knew that he couldn't defeat this defensive type monster. 9604. This still is not enough. Kang has activated the reset of the specified skill and now this skill cannot be activated again for a month. Kang discarded and then reused the multiplication skill and now his attack is divided into squares. He was offended to deal with the monster with less health. At this time, the fungus attacked. The only thing I can rely on is my skill. To reached the 100 million mark. Kang understood the risks. Kang was about to go beyond his limit and used the pardon skill to attack twice. He cut the mushroom. The beam of light he hit lay in a straight line. Kang was able to inflict nearly 100 million damages on a defensive type monster. It was seen as the guy overcame his own abilities. This was followed by an explosion that once again dealt 100 million damage to the defender monster. Kang managed to defeat such a strong opponent, even though he chose the once easy path of passage. At the same second, the octopus struck a guy at 22,000 domag. Kang literally burned with a green flame and his shadow looked more like a monster from Distortion. But the guy activated the cancellation of the deadly attack by activating the shutter speed before that. He then used the damage cancel skill for 5 seconds. Kang took off, leaving behind an explosion. All of my attack nulls have been spent and I only have 1 stamina skill. He flew closer to the octopus and struck, but it was also 48 damage. The problem here is, from this point this is a simple combat: evade, attack, repeat. Kang was exhausted but continued to stand his ground. Kang looked at the info screen. He had 21 skills left out of 820. I have no more skills. I 0.2 million HP have to shaved using only normal attacks. Ha, easy To say. I need To hit this monster 25,000 times. And I will lose it, laughed the tired guy. Kang did what he intended. The space was filled with a roar of blows. After each excruciating blow, this octopus's health slowly decreased. Kang's body could not withstand such loads. There are 125,000 out of a million left. Kang was breathing hard but gathering his strength. He screamed to give himself a boost of strength. He screamed so hard that his eyes could hardly see. There's still a little left. You are in a state of full concentration. Your body and mind are one. Your soul is impressed with miraculous power. You have gained the soul tap skill, the system alerted while the smoke of the past battle settled. After completing the maze in easy mode, he can no longer gain skills and his new skill will be sealed. Kang nervously closed the notifications. The octopus lay on the ground, all cut up and sighing heavily in blood. Kang dealt the last 48 points of damage to the monster by simply plunging his sword, and this monster was finally defeated. Kang looked at him wearily. Gods of all strips can't keep their amazing about your feet. Notify the system of Kang, who was frozen in place, he screamed without a voice. How long did I fight? It feel like more than a month have been. Fucking stats. The guy woke up. He stood staggering. And began to hunch back. He slowly walked in the direction of the settlement behind the wall, leaving behind the devastation of a furious battle. Suddenly, the system began to signal the presence of another large monster. Ahead was the devastation dam creature. Kang walked past the corpses. There were many corpses, and the Khan tried not to look at them. At least now there is simply no time to grieve. You guys are and keep talking about that you are the few remaining players in hard mode. In this world. The guy did not stay. Why did I come back after the victory and saw you all die? He spoke looking into the void. So why am I, a player with easy mod, left alone? He remembered their smiles at the table. He looked at the corpses and saw a familiar face. It was Jim. Looks like you have got to the other world as you suggested. Khan continued to look at his friend's face. He remembered his sincere smile and how he saved his potatoes for dinner. He took a look but understood whose corpse he would now see. It was an imprinted body on the wall. It was Li Taeyeon. Khan remembered her smile too. Li Taeyeon sat with her head down. She had many wounds that were still bleeding. The only one highest level of single-player difficulty, and the person To Placide strongest in the world. And the one who killed her was already here. In front of Khan, black goo began to slide and gather together. A sprout grew from the heap. This something had a semblance of eyes and they burned with purple fire when looking at Khan. It was an apostle and he had already returned to his true form. The system announced, "You will die, shut up. Get this shit out of here." Khan barked and successfully resisted. The apostle yelled as befits a terrible monster, heartbreaking. Khan immediately struck at the apostle, but the damage didn't even show up. Khan began to lose his temper. The guy was out of his mind and yelled, "Come to me, son of a bitch." His eyes were also burning with purple fire. Khan looked tiredly at the invulnerable opponent. The devastation of the city reminded of the defeat of the community that lived here. Khan stood in front of the apostle, thrusting his sword into him. The guy understood that shit. Particles of the monster's body dripped to his feet. The apostle impaled Kang's body and hurled him away in a matter of seconds. Is it all going to end like this? Kang's face changed at the sight of his own blood and a wave of pain. Your HP has reached 0. Resistance is activated. You will be forced to keep alive for a minute. The system alerted. Bastards. Let me fast in peace. I can't feel my lower half of my body. I probably have broken my spine too when he pierced my heart. Weeple Khan. Fortitude only posters my death. It does not heal me. Khan looked at Taeyeon. I will die in a minute. It probably knows. Damn. He bleeds as he tries to crawl towards the sword but stops because of the pain. If I did not choose the easy mode, he remembered the shattered sky of that day. Like monsters greedily tore the walls with their claws. Damn, even in normal mode. He was just a kid then. Khan forcefully interrupted the painful memories, gathering his courage. No, he did not want despair to consume him. You useless freaks, he said through his teeth, overcoming. He squeezed them so that they crunched. You couldn't even grow your own power properly because you were too busy trying to pass the labyrinth. He remembered the corpses. How the hell were you so weak even after choose normal or hard mode? He remembered the once living braggarts. And then again I remembered the corpse of a comrade who never boasted of his regime, unlike the guy who had to be reassured. If only you guys would do at least half of what I did. He pounded on the ground with his fist. Jim's smile with potatoes for Kong came back to mind. And tears because of the terrible world of that guy who Kong settled down. We could. The guy hissed. His fist trembled with bitterness and pain. And then his eyes dimmed. He fell on his side. Whatever. This is in the past, and this was what I decided to do. Do not blame others. The guy calmed himself mentally, smiling tiredly, closing his eyes. Humanity ends here, but at that moment, the stone in the hand of the already dead Kaon lit up. The boy opened his eyes wide. He was staring at that shiny purple stone in her hand. What? Means she was trying to protect something. He started crawling towards her again, but the apostle was still standing there. He tried to reach for the stone in her hands, but his body only grew heavier. Stay where you are, he said to the creature that already thought that the guy was dead and growled in surprise. Last chance activated. One skill can be used without limits. Kong stopped time. The skill was calculated for 2 minutes and a radius of 100 meters. Kong crawled to the girl's hand and took the stone. Bezor of the gods that rules the cycle of all life. Can return time one person, once. The system alerted. What? Return time? Why Lee Taeyang? He looked at the stone in his hand. At this time, something broke through the wall of the settlement. Kang saw the huge claws of the monster. See you next time, creature, Kang said as he got to his feet. It was a huge lizard was about to feast on the guy's body. Kang squeezed the stone in his hands and the process of resetting time was launched. The guy was swallowed up by the light of space. He was a kid and he heard Kang Tae-san, you're just a useless piece of shit, why were you born? Adult Kang and little Kang met at the same intersection of time in his mind. When I was a child, my parents used me for stress relief. I believed their words after I were beaten like this, and I thought I was nothing. This weakness of my lead to my choose the easy mode. But this is not the event, I know my value and talent. Kang told himself as he turned towards the warm light. So this time, Kang woke up on the floor of the room and was uninjured. Everything worked. He was shocked that everything worked out and barely kept a cry of surprise. It was his cluttered room and mountains of rubbish. That's... He looked around. He picked up the phone, I'm really back. He couldn't believe it. The time on the phone proved that everything worked out for him. And here it is this winter day of the new year 2020. Happy people on the streets. And at the dawn of this new year, the sky cracked and went to the seams. The fall of the earth will begin. But first of all, the how long since I had it pizza was enjoyed by Kang. After the apocalypse we eat only potatoes and carcasses monsters. The guy remembered eating on both cheeks. He quickly finished off the hot pizza. Who could thought Lee Taeyang have an object that can return time? He remembered the corpse of a girl who never took advantage of this chance. Lee Taeyang, who I knew would run, he thought grimly. But why did she not use it to the very end, who knows? Kang ran out of the room. He stepped out onto the balcony and breathed in the cold air. He could admire the living city a little more. He looked at his watch and knew that now everything would begin. Probably everyone in the world now counts the time only until the beginning of the new year. Welcoming the new year, we think that everything will go back. People congratulate each other. Unfortunately, just with the coming of the new year, the world will not be the same and no one will be carefree happy. A purple cluster of lightning began to grow in the sky. People on the streets heard a strange noise and did not understand what was happening but smiled, thinking that it was just someone celebrating. At midnight their smiles disappeared. What is this? Because everyone has already seen in the sky the ominous muzzle of a huge monster, the first of many who arrived to destroy the world of people. Kang now heard screams and panic. What is this? What is this monster? And he calmly watched. Then I was just shocked, but now I know what it is. Near a beer rank, I think. A monster that a heavy mode player can fight without any problem. He spoke while watching the monster climb into a gap in space. Many had a stupor. Anyway, is it time to? At the same time, a system alert appeared. A welcome screen appeared in front of all the people in a panic. Your world will be destroyed by the invaders. The weapon you carefully created will not be used to fight them. It was in the notifications. News reporters held back their fear and talked about what had happened. But don't worry, the system said as the creepy dragon was already out and showing off its size. The dragon was about to strike. You're sorry, the system said. The fire of the dragon killed people on the spot, burning them alive. And those who survived were huddled in the corners in a panic. You will be given a chance. People fled in panic. Children without parents were crying in the streets. Others in passion tried to pull the already dead so that they would run. The city was swallowed up by chaos and human suffering. You all will be given a choice. Choose the way you want to take and enter the labyrinth. The system continued to broadcast while people asked for help and cried. Purify and get power. Mercy, oh well. Kang said, walking where the people was running from. They just go crazy for entertainment. Said the guy. In this moment a window appeared with a choice of mode. And now the little Kang, beaten by his parents, can finally prove himself and prove that he was not born in vain and lives this life. Kang chose his new path long ago. Little Kang's eyes were filled with the light of life and adult Kang understood what needed to be done so that there would be no regrets. Easy mode, you will be blessed with the plenty of food and recreation available in every labyrinth. The system explained. Even the charmed and weak today can pass this in time if they make efforts. Normal mode. There is not enough food and the monsters definitely are. Labyrinths have less rest areas than easy mode. It will be hard to survive, but you can do it if you do your effort and don't fall in despair. Hard mode. Difficulty that challenges your limits. Food and recreation are very lacked. Monsters will throw in your lives only to kill you, and if you cannot give yourself a small safety, you will die a horrible death. Solo mode. This is a mode in which you will be alone. You can't meet anyone else who come from your world. The only thing you can see here is the creatures, Monster 5 and NPCs hostile to you. Kong reached for the select button. In this place where you need luck, talent, wisdom, strategy, you cannot survive. The alert system delighted. If you value your life, do not choose this difficulty. But Kong didn't care. The purple memory tore apart the space with a deafening roar. You have already passed this? Wait for me. Kong smiled as he entered the labyrinth. Solo mode selected. May luck be on your side. Kang's system alerted as he walked forward to meet the odds. He knew what he signed up for but wanted a different fate for himself and humanity, which is why he chose this path. Kong found himself in a sunny town of German architecture style. The feeling of nostalgia and familiarity. He looks back at the starting city. After a long time I'm back here again. The guy smiled calmly. A screen appeared in front of him. There was a message from Kong Chungduk. What is this? Is it already posting? I don't know who this is, but he looks successful. The guy was surprised looking at the notification screen. Kong Taisan only wrote good luck community is the only way to communicate with people in other difficulties. Because the people at the Vanguard have shared methods and strategies, it helped so much. I will be able to use the community effectively only after, therefore, there is no point now. The guy sighed as he removed the panel. What do I need to check now? Kong wondered and remembered Kaon asking him about NPCs in easy mode. Kong then said that they at his level simply repeated the questions asked and asked the girl if the NPCs differed on her difficulty. She briefly replied that they were different. NPCs in single player. How to say it? They acted with intelligence and could move freely. She tried to somehow explain. They were like real people. And then Kong met one. He slept by the aisle with his back against the wall. The gate guard who guards the labyrinth entrance. In easy mode, he was a white-haired old man. Kong was surprised, and the guy turned to him. What? Are you already here? I thought it would take at least a month, the non-player character was saying, and Kong was even annoyed. He is stronger as Taeyang. Is this guard? Kong even cursed a little when the character woke up and stood up to his full height. Congratulations, first of all that I'm Brockman. A guard guarding this place, as well as your guide. Labyrinth. The guy introduced himself lazily. Broken Man, repeated Kong, and Broken Man said the one who failed his attempt becomes the guard. Isn't that stupid? I believe you hear the point. Is it outside? Your world is at risk of destruction by invaders. This is the opportunity that the magnetic transcender is bringing to you people. Brockman continued wearily. Such a needed mercy. A simple destruction would lead to more happiness. The pervert looked at Kong. He talks as like has already experienced it. What Li Taeyang said is the truth. Kong was silent. Single-player NPCs are living beings. People who come from ruined worlds. The guy was thinking, looking at the pervert. Kong watched intently. Broken Man was silent. This battle, why is he so pissed? If he come from peaceful world, should he go crazy now? Broken Man pondered, looking at Kong just as intently. I thought to beat him and then explain. But he doesn't react. Thought Broken Man was looking at a really calm and unflappable guy. This is a labyrinth. Some call it a tower, but you can call it anything. The guard began to explain, looking suspiciously at Kong. The game is I00 floor total, and every I0 floors there is big changes. Naturally, the deeper you go, the more difficult. During your stay in the labyrinth you will have to solve your food and water issues and you should find any information you need. This is it. Is this really all? Kang asked calmly without breaking eye contact. Then you want me to explain what's on one floor, what's on another floor, and so on? There is a guy that sells you stuff, so go ask him. Brockenman yawned. This guard was so elusive and beat you if you complained. I should just shut up. Kang remembered the words of that girl and remained silent. Broken Man ran through the air and it began to sparkle. But I will at least tell you the basics, he said as he continued to widen the crack of matter. He began to pull out weapons and cloth. Broken Man took out a very long spear and looked menacingly at Kang, demonstrating weapons. Kang watched silently. Broken Man chuckled. And at the same moment he waved his spear and was already a millimeter from the neck of Kang, who was still just standing. Kang calmly looked at the sharp tip of the weapon. Broken Man stopped the spear right next to the guy's shoulder and did not stop looking at him, waiting for a reaction. He then smiled kinder and put the weapon behind his back. Take this, he said smiling. Weathered leather armor defense 1 IT looks like it can block small scratches. Rusty sword attack -1 IT looks like that it could be braked. The system alerted and Kang watched and smiled. This is copper. Kang said what? Don't like? Broken Man asked irritably and Kang said he didn't say that. Broken Man multitasked silently thinking about why this man is so calm. Kang asked what happened and Broken Man said nothing. Take this and through the pervert, IT was a weird wrist protector protection +1 lost ITS value after long US eat. IT looks he can at least block bite of the beast. What is this? Kang asked. I don't think Li Taeyang mentioned that get such a protector. You will get some skills and things, but you can test it for yourself. Okay, come in. Broken Man said pointing to the entrance and Kang humbly thanked him. Good luck, Broken Man said without even looking in the direction of Kang's departure. That guy, he was smiling, right? As if he had to enter the labyrinth. Broken Man thought looking into the distance. He remembered how Kang smiled good-naturedly looking at the worn and weak weapons. I met many participants of the labyrinth who was called genius. But none of them could clear this labyrinth. The pervert said, remembering the other players. But that guy, he is different. At this time, Kang walked without fear through the entrance to the labyrinth. This is not just talent or skill, but in more fundamental concepts. Kang walked forward without looking back. Forced to survive. Will be good if he survives. Broken Man said as he sat down on the ground. Kang's shadow stood exactly like him. The guy looked at the notification panel. This is a labyrinth created by a great magic long ago. There are rumors that a wish will be fulfilled for those who can pass it. This is a sealed world. Terrible creatures moving silently, and living creatures die. Everything is here to oppress you. But if you can get through this deep and dark hell, you will be eternal glory. The notification system continued. At this time, Kang entered the first floor of the labyrinth. This was its beginning. The guy shielded himself from the bright light. Beings that Duhan knife live here. The forces are not so strong here. The system alerted. Well, are we starting? Kang smiled looking up. The main quest has begun. There are many secrets and hidden areas here. Depending on what secrets you find, various rewards will be given when you clear the floor. Start the quest on the floor. Beat the boss on the first floor and pass. Reward, random stats boost potential secret reward? The system alerted as Kang moved on confidently. Tayson, did you have a shopkeep in easy mode? Certainly. Are there any difficulties without them? He again remembered the conversation with her. What are they? The girl asked. Well, he was a simple merchant. Only at the level where I buyed potions from him? Concerned answered Kang. This is not in single-player mode, but they sell a lot. Kaon said as she removed her glove. Look at it. She showed him her hand. It was a clear black bracelet. An incredibly powerful item that reduces damage take by 50%. Do they sell something like that in the store? Kang asked. This is so much more, but I did not have enough gold, so I could not buy them. The girl explained, remembering the beautiful and strong weapon. Kang looked around carefully. If you simply buy all the items in the shop, you will probably get stronger than me. He remembered her words when he found the shopkeeper's door. Then he only paid half attention to it, because it didn't concern him, but now the situation changed. He entered the room where a strong old man was sitting. He smoked his pipe for a short time. "What, are you here already?" he asked wearily. "You meet the Lost King," the system announced. Kang silently looked at him, trying to assess the situation. Kang respectfully greeted and the Lost King did the same, adding that the guy turns out to have a little intelligence. The shopkeeper asked the boy's name. Kang called his name Tae-san Kang. And the Lost King replied, "Well, let's say I am." Kang was a little confused. There was at least a ball of pakoti in this Lost King shop. The shopkeeper laughed and began to threaten that if I displayed all my goods, the whole floor would not be enough. This shopkeeper seemed much larger than those that Kang had seen at his previous level. "And I do not intend to show you my creations," the merchant grimaced. "Sorry? Then why are you here?" Kang asked. "A shopkeeper who does not sell products." The man glared at the boy. "Do you think I'm here because I want it so much? I lost my kingdom because of this crazy and I'm suffering here for nothing." He slammed his two fists on the table. "Shortly, I don't want to show my kids to a screw who doesn't even know anything," he called out. "I understand," Kang replied calmly. The man calmed down. "But if you can show me what you're made of, this story may change." He pointed to the passage behind. Kang understood where he was leading. "Go and return alive. Then I will show you my children," said the wearily Lost King. Kang knew what to do. "So the condition of the purchase is survival? Is that all I need to do?" The guy clarified. The old man multitasked and silently looked at Kang. "You're weird," the shopkeeper said without taking his eyes off the guy. And then he apologized and shut up. Kang asked if he needed to clear the whole labyrinth so that the old man could show him all his goods. The shopkeeper said not all, and Kang said he had to go. He silently walked into the tunnel. What the hell? They usually just scared and stand shaking. Why is he so confused? Silently the shopkeeper thought as the guy goes to do the job. Kang went down the stairs. Like, he doesn't feel fear or anything like that. Everything the shopkeeper thought about the boy's calmness. Do such people exist? The old man was surprised. Well, it doesn't matter, will he not come back alive. The shopkeeper stretched wearily. The passage was lit with torches. Corridor, then room. Location of floor 1 is the same as in easy mode. Just looking here, there is no danger here. The boy thought as he stepped forward. He heard the sound, but it's not like that. It was the monster that followed Kang's back. It was a big rat. But she was dangerous for beginners. Big rat? Kang was surprised. And at this time, this creature was already rushing towards him, gaining power. Monster B0SS on floor 5 in easy mode, is it just a random mob here? Kang was surprised and got 10 damage from the bite of this muck. Kang understood that this was not a joke since he was still a beginner. He remembered how he and the others had encountered such people in the previous level. The protection of large rats is low. But because of his incredible speed, which is difficult to follow with your eyes, it took long time to beat him. But this guy is just a random mob on the ground floor, now I feel the difference. Thought Kang attacking this curse. But he didn't. The sword plunged into the floor. She was as fast as Kang had thought. The rat immediately jumped back to a safe distance. When we battled him in easy mode, the players combined running him here and here until he was tired. And then holding it there was an opportunity to kill. But now, in addition to lonely, my stats are lower than the time, so logically this is an impossible fight. So bad what Lee Taeyang said that you run first. He remembered as she talked about the first meeting with these creatures. From the beginning, among the players who passed the first floor in single mode, none of them fighted the big rat. These rats were mostly packs and easily dealt with lone newcomers quickly moving on to feasting. The old man still looked askance at the entrance that led to the rats. Kang was standing in front of him again, but in better clothes. Now I understand what's going on, Kong smiled. The way to get awards in the labyrinth is simple. He fought with a rat. If you get what the others cannot achieve, he mused, and got 8 domag from the bite of the reptile. Or perform a feat that will create everyone's respect. He swung his sword openly, very close to the monster. Then you will receive the proper reward. He raised his sword over his head. And my goal is to become stronger than everyone present here, he said as he thrust his sword very close to her head. It does not keep up with my speed. I have to predict where it will go. At that moment, the rat bounced away in 3 jumps. This mock called the big rat was afraid. This is a living and breathing being, and no matter what the thing is, its movements are not instant, Kong told himself. He noticed swelling of the chest, and then followed by a contraction of the muscles of the legs of the rat. And he realized that he needed to beat now. The rat jumped back. The big rat is terrible by you. Its ability to think is dult. The system reported. With such a small brain, it will be hard for him to understand what is going on. Because I am now blocking my ankles from his attacks, he will go to the next, easiest target. Because he cannot jump that high, he will strive to. He looked at the leather armlet that Broken Man had given him. The rat immediately rushed at him. Kong immediately offered her hand with this weak armor and she clung to it. You're about to die, the guy said calmly, looking at the rat on his wristband. Kong crouched down on the floor with his hand on the ground and stabbed the rat with his blade. Since the big rat was immobilized, it received increased damage. 4 and then 5 damage to the big rat. Kong came out of the passage and the old man looked at him, already preparing to laugh. But instead, he was surprised. I'm back, Kong said calmly, holding a bag of big rat meat, which could be eaten as needed. That Kong Junjin was surprised and asked if the guy didn't think the shop owner was a total jerk. Why is he always trying to get the final word by selling his products? Li Tan was also in touch and was also not happy with the behavior of this old lost king. I really want to piece him with a sword, but I can't do this, because they will be beating me, she said. He pissed her off a lot. Did you survive? Frightened, the old man dropped his smoking pipe and looked at the guy. Do you want me to die? Calmly but mockingly asked Kong. No. The shopkeeper justified himself by looking at the bag with the meat of a large rat. The meat of the big rat had a quality of 96 and could be eaten when needed. Big rat skin quality, 95% big rat leather. Looks warm enough. Do you buy items too? This is a store? How much can you get for them? Asked the guy, looking at his policies. Did you kill one? You did not even have time to escape, but you killed? The old man was still trembling with surprise, and Kong asked him why he was so surprised. This is real. Not to talk about the highest quality. That means he managed to track it perfectly, with the minimum of the mess, reasoned the shopkeeper. And all this is from a green grower just entering the labyrinth. He looked at the Kong, who silently looked at him. Okay, as you have followed my requirements, I will open a store for you, the old man said matter-of-factly. What do you sell? Kong asked. The shopkeeper smiled and said that he sells everything and you just need to say what you need. Then, do you have a tower shield? Kong asked, imagining this charm. Tower shield? One of the big? The shopkeeper asked. Yes, big enough to hold it with 2 hands. The guy answered, and the old man asked why he was interested in such a big shield. I thought to just crush them. Smiling, Kong imagines how easy it would be to crush these fast rats with them. Correct answer. The old man smiled wearily and touched the wall of the room. He opened the golden door of his vast store of all kinds of products for players. Kong stood and silently watched as the Lost King opens the world of his products. He took out a large and sharp shield. What about that? It gave +1 attack and +5 defense. A good weapon and will withstand a lot of attacks. This is more than good. An item of this quality can be obtained in easy mode on approximately the 7th floor. Mentally surprised guy taking it. The shopkeeper said that this shield was worth 500 gold, but Kong only had 243. He was already starting to think about the fact that he would have to return later. About 7 big rats should be enough. Calculated Kong. Where are you going? Asked the shopkeeper. I need more gold. The guy answered as he walked back. Do not worry about this. I'll give it to you for free. The old man said, handing the shield to Kong, and now it is listed as his ammunition. You have about 250 gold, right? With this amount you can buy some things that are worth your money. Hold, the king said while picking up some potions. Kong even got excited. The guy had absolutely no idea what was going on. This is totally not like what Li Taeyang told me. The guy looked at the completely crowded table with different items. Wait! Why are you so much for me? The guy began to ask nervously. Why do you fuck when I'm trying to be polite to you? What, can I do you a favor? The old man asked seriously. Present it as a simple investment. Said the shopkeeper to justify his kindness to the guy. Investment? Kong asked in surprise. Here are products you can purchase now. The old man shoved objects closer. And Kong understood that he simply did not want to openly express his concern. Health restoration potion regenerates 50%, 200 grams. Most of them are potions. Some of them temporarily increase attack. Some of them temporarily increase speed, etc. They are required to pass the labyrinth. But this is not what I need in this moment. Quietly stood and thought Kong, looking at all this goodness. It is very difficult to get potions in single-player mode. And they were mostly used on the upper floors, not the lower floors. There is no need to buy them right now. These potions are a type of traps in the self, in really. Kong stood and thought. Right now I need to buy more important things than this. Kong looked at the bow and arrows. Although the bow was not very convenient to use, it was at least something other than a dull blade. I definitely need a way to attack from a range. With a bow, a bad situation can turn into a walk in the park. The guy thought, imagining the hunt. How much is the skin of a big rat? The guy asked. At this level of quality, about 70 gold, replied the old man. Kong said that he would sell it to him and take the bow and arrows. The old man became more and more proud of the guy, as if he were his own son. Even her cheeks flushed. You're in the right place. The shopkeeper glows with happiness, and Kong sincerely does not understand why he started acting like this. I'm sure of it. Something has changed. Do you know the labyrinth is not health restoring? The old man asked, and Kong replied that he knew about it. On this floor there's a so-called source of life where you can restore health. You can use it an infinite number of times until you leave this floor. The old man said that he would show where he was. I will mark this on your map, the shopkeeper said matter-of-factly, and Kong remembered Kaon saying that there is a crazy old man, but it should not be a problem for him. Li Taeyang also discovered the location of the source of life. When he offended her by telling her to lock there and died of hunger. The guy remembered her story. What did the shop owner's attitude change? The difference in our methods? Kong thought as he left. She failed to kill the rat the first time and ran away. But Kong did not run away, he killed her and returned whole. They were really different. She did the right thing by betting on him. Has this difference changed his attitude to me? He continued to meditate, killing the rat. Big rat is impossible. She will get a promotion damage. 4 domag and then 5. And she is defeated with a shield. There are a lot of questions I can't answer at the moment. Kong looked at the notice. Activated intercept, increased skill. It was a great skill. Kang's agility has steadily grown since he first killed the big rat. Why are there so many status screens from killing one random mob? In addition to my basic skills, I have skills I developed on floor 20 and 4 in simple mode. The guy saw this on the screens. Did not thought I would get them on the same floor in single mode. The guy was surprised. Soul tap skill up. 100% your soul has passed to a higher level of existence. Every time your high-dimensional soul win, it will steal the opponent's power. He saw what was sealed. You are in a state of full concentration. Your body and mind are one. Remember the alert guy. A miraculous power has been installed into your soul. You got the soul tap skill. He heard it while fighting back then. Because you escaped from the labyrinth, you could not get the skill. Inception increased, has been sealed. He was overwhelmed by these memories. Why is this skill not erased? He got it when I fighted this S rank. After I decreased 1.2 million HP, the system window opened. I couldn't test this properly because I were too tired. The sealed skill was released because I returned to the labyrinth? Khan recalled that day. A skill that he kept even when time turned back. I kept going forward because it was a question that I could not answer at that moment. It is the same here. I must go to my goal. The guy decided to become the strongest of all. He walked down the corridor of the labyrinth further. They definitely made it the wastelessly long. The spring of life should appear directly behind this corridor. The guy reasoned out loud. From the darkness another big rat was already running towards Khan. Another big rat? I think monster encounter in the corridor, this is pretty typical. The guy thought. But the rat was not alone. Khan found himself in a difficult situation as he was surrounded by these frisky creatures.